A lot of bad things will happen in the housing market soon. The spring season is the busiest season for people to buy, and right now, no one is buying, causing realtors and home sellers to panic a little bit. I have a few important information to share with you today, so stay into the end of the video to find out. And now, let's take a quick look at this take from CNBC discussing high interest rate on housing.
All right, so how big of a deal is this to see the mortgage rates just tick above 7% during the middle of the spring selling season? Is this really the time when people are out there trying to buy houses, or have some of these higher rates kind of disrupted those trends?
Yeah, this is certainly a disruption. It's unhelpful. It's been a slow start to this selling season. We were hoping that it would be much busier. It's decent. We're doing better. The numbers are better than last year, but remember, last year was not a good year in housing. And I think the trade war is certainly throwing things off. Uncertainty is, in the economy right now. And I don't see the Fed doing anything until there's resolve with this trade war. And rates are so important to the home buying process. And even for sellers and for buyers, people are waiting it out more than they normally would. And so that's slowing things down, which is not a good thing.
So you're saying it's slowing things down. Redfin came out with a report yesterday I thought was really fascinating. So according to their data, we're seeing the most active U.S. home listings since March of 2020. We all know what happened in March of 2020, the pandemic. And then people kind of rushed out to buy houses. What is that telling us about the current housing market right now, that we seem to kind of gotten back to where we were right before the pandemic?
Yeah, there has been a buildup. People are out there, and remember from the last quarter, the sentiment has been good, but we're starting to feel consumer confidence slow down. But we did see a glut of inventory come on the market, which was a good thing. People were willing to list and sell. What I do think that means is that sellers and buyers are starting to understand and recognize that the rates that were 2% and 3% are gone. Those days are over. Now they have wrapped their heads around the fact that the 5%, 6%, 7% is where mortgage rates are going to be for some time. And hopefully they don't go up further. So I think people are recognizing that, and people who need to sell are selling. But I wish it was a little bit busier than we were hoping for.
Yeah, I think every real estate agent hopes that as well. When we're talking about those 7% mortgage rates right now, who is that impacting the most? Is that impacting high-end people as well as first-time buyers? Because I would imagine first-time buyers, it's really a struggle. When we're talking about the higher-end consumer that's still, getting a mortgage, are they equally as impacted right now when we're talking about these 7% potentially mortgages?
I think it has probably the most profound impact on first-time home buyers. And they're having a harder time now than ever before in buying their first-time home because rates are higher. Inventory is scarce. There's not as much to choose from, and prices have not come down as much as we would like to see. So I think that's creating a lot of trepidation and wait. But people who are bigger spenders or discretionary, as we say, are more flexible when it comes to that, and first-time home buyers also need to build up credit to be able to get a loan to buy their first-time home. So I think it has a heavier impact on the first-time home buyer. And as we're seeing also, Frank, the first-time home buyer is older now than they have been in a long time. They're close to 40 years old. 10 years ago, they were 28 years old.
Wow.
And we have to pay attention to that. It's still the American dream, and we want to see people out there buying their first-time home.
That's a completely different profile of a first-time buyer, from 28 all the way to almost 40. That's an incredible change. Bess, one last question for you. We're talking about the administration's policies when it comes to tariffs and also immigration. What are you hearing from home builders and people that are, building homes and supplying building materials? I'm sure you have your finger on the pulse of this. You mentioned inventory before. As we look a year out or even further out when we're talking about inventory, do you expect that to continue to build when we're talking about new homes? Or has that supply chain been disrupted? Has that labor flow been disrupted significantly?
I think it's slowed down. I think there's a lot of pencils down because, look, materials are more expensive. They're going to be. People are waiting, scratching their heads. They want to know what costs will be, and they're ticking up. So I think that has put a pause on a lot of people who are thinking about or wanting to build because it's just so much more expensive. They have to decide whether it will make sense. So I think that's going to take some time to sort itself out until we know what these costs are going to be, and then they can make decisions as to what to do.
The higher the interest rate is, the more pressure it puts on housing because buyers become more price sensitive. Here's a quick analysis that shows a 462,000 house that was worth at 2.7% interest rate compared to what it's actually worth at 7%, which is 280,000. Here's another clip I want to share with you guys from CNBC explaining the surge in inventory on the market.
A big red flag for the housing market. It's not just interest rates rising today. You can see that's putting pressure across the builders, but the number of homes for sale in this country is also really surging. Diana Olick is here with some exclusive new numbers. Hi, Diana.
Hey, Kelly, and you and I have been talking a lot about this already, the steady rise of homes for sale. But we asked Redfin for the very latest national read and to drill down on some major markets. Some of the numbers are really stunning. Now, nationally, inventory is up 18% from a year ago and has hit the highest level since the start of 2020, pre-pandemic. And speaking of, when you look at where inventory is soaring even more, it's in some of those markets that were super hot during the pandemic, like Phoenix, Denver, Dallas, Miami, Las Vegas. These markets are now seeing prices weaken dramatically, with some going negative from a year ago. The jump in listings is not just more new listings, but homes not selling, just sitting on the market. Now, prices lag sales by about 3 months, so we are likely to see even bigger price drops in these cities over the summer. There are, however, some markets that are not seeing big jumps in supply, and these are, of course, mostly in the Midwest, where homes are most affordable and sales are still strong. That's your Cleveland, Detroit, Chicago. Now, New York City is a weird one because it is so pricey, but you're seeing a lot of new demand in the city because of return to office orders and a relatively new tech presence. Sales were way up there in the first quarter of this year. Now, just a note that we did see a little surge early this morning in mortgage demand from home buyers, but that fell back last week when rates jumped up near 7% again. Today's buyers are extremely rate sensitive, and as you see, we're back over 7% this morning. 7:05, Kelly.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we were at, 460 on the 10-year a moment ago. That doesn't bode well. Diana, thanks very much, Diana Olick.
All that is pointing to really bad signs for the housing market. According to an article from the Wall Street Journal titled "Home Sales in April Fell for the Second Straight Month," the slowest sales pace for any April in 16 years, indicating that the spring selling season is shaping up for a bust. Sales of existing home declined in April after mounting economic uncertainty and steep housing costs pushed buyers away for the second consecutive month during a crucial spring season. U.S. existing home sales fell slightly by 0.5% in April from the prior month to a seasonally adjusted rate of 4 million, the slowest sales pace for any April since 2009. The National Association of Realtors said Thursday, this spring month, which is critical for the real estate industry, have been lackluster this year. Disappointing sales are spoiling hopes in that housing market can break out in a rut that has characterized the market since mortgage rates have rose sharply in 2022. Home sales in March posted their biggest monthly decline in more than 2 years, and they fell 5.9% from the prior month. In April, President Trump rolled out this tariff policy, which caused economic anxiety and stock market volatility that gave buyers another reason to stay away. Home prices are declining in southern market where inventory is rising. The supply of home is piling up, in particular in Texas and Florida, and homes are sitting on the market for longer. But in the Northeast and Midwest, the supply is lower, prices keep rising as buyers have fewer options to choose from. That's it for today, folks. Let me hear your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and click on the link below for the free community. Thank you for tuning in and see you next time.
Hi, YouTube.
You gotta look this way.
Hi, YouTube.
Yeah.